Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain, powered by Rafa Racing Club. And unlike most of the UK, a virtual Silverstone is bathed in sunshine rather than snow as we get set for the first of 2 races coming up after qualifying to kick off a season. Sebastian Job, last year's champion, is going to return to defend that title, but this year he is up against some really interesting and some tough opposition. David Addison and Paul Smith are trackside. Qualifying is coming up, and Paul, here we are again, another great season in prospect. We are familiar with some of the names, but some of the newcomers are really quite interesting, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some really good talent coming into the season this year, and if qualifying, the pre-season qualifying to actually get into the series is anything to go by, it's going to be a really, really tight, compact grid with just race winners everywhere from what we've seen.
Now, let's just have a quick word about how the format per weekend is going to work. They've had the open qualifying, they're about to have the open qualifying. They've done a sort of warm-up, if you like. Then they will have 25 minutes for race 1. We can have a quick breath while there's a 3-minute warm-up just to get them back in the groove before race 2. And the point structure is such that there is a greater emphasis on the points in the pro category for race 1, because if you like, that's a natural race. It comes from a grid based on qualifying, not that semi-reversal that we'll come to for the purposes of race 2. And 2 classes as well, Paul, pro and am, both ultra competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw last season how, the last couple of seasons, having that pro and am split has really upped the competition. Encourage people who are maybe not at that level of a Sebastian Job or Luke McEwen or Will Chadwick, people like that. It gives them something to fight for as well. And I think it's great that the Porsche have brought that in to this championship the last couple of years. And it works out nicely. It gives them some great racing.
And also, this qualifying session is important because it's going to give us a notional championship leader. 2 points for pole in your respective class. We go from Silverstone to Snetterton, then to Thruxton, which is always going to be a real feature. Wonderful fast circuit, that, and somewhere that these cars in real or virtual trim can stretch their legs. Alton Park, followed by Zandvoort, Croft, Donington, and then the Grand Prix circuit at Brands Hatch to round out the season. So we're going to circuits only once. In other words, even if there are multiple configurations, we're only doing one of those configurations. It's another really interesting calendar, this, isn't it?
Absolutely. The addition of Thruxton, personally, is my favourite. I think it only just came to iRacing in the latest build of the service, and it is a track that produces great racing. Fantastic. Fastest track in the country. Certainly one that will challenge these drivers, and you could see 1 or 2 upsets there. Zandvoort, our trip away overseas. That could be an interesting one. It's a tight and twisty circuit, very difficult to overtake there. Croft, I mean, that's about an hour and a half away from me. Great to see that's coming into the circuit as well.
Yeah, Zandvoort is a great current modern iteration of a Formula 1 circuit. The banking behind the paddock and indeed on that last corner, so steep. Trying to walk it, trying to run around it, it's well nigh impossible. But it does generate some really interesting lines. And of course, going back to Thruxton, this is one of the benefits of being a sim racer. You can't test at Thruxton in the real world because they're so short of noisy days when the track can be open. But of course, on a sim, you've got as much time as you want, seemingly. So it's going to be interesting to see whether actually the ability to do lots of testing there on the sim for this championship is going to help a couple of our real-world drivers when we get to Carrera Cup GB at Thruxton. One of those real-world drivers being Charles Rainford, back in esports, and we know that he's good both in a virtual and a real situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the sim. I remember I was sat in Leipzig at the Porsche factory in Leipzig. It's the sim racing summit that they had there, and they had all sorts of meetings with different parties, and one of them, the groups that I was sat in as the sim racing consultant.
Cool.
Yes, I know. I wore a suit and everything. One of them was with team managers from the Super Cup, from various Carrera Cups around the world, all listening for Porsche to say, look, we want you to buy into this. And they were very sceptical then. I think since we've progressed, and especially due to 2020, I think a lot of people have actually seen the benefits of the sim world and have taken that and been able to apply that to the full metal racing.
Yeah, totally agree. And the nature of esports just goes from strength to strength, doesn't it? There's this recent online documentary about Sebastian Job driving a Red Bull Formula 1 car. It's a 4-parter. I would commend you go and watch it. Game to Glory, the sort of second season of it. The first is talking about his life. This is about driving the F1 car. And not only is it an impressive watch, but so is Sebastian Job very, very impressive as well in the way that he's able to go from a sim through junior single-seaters and then do quite outstanding lap times in a Formula 1 car. And he's going to have to do exceedingly good lap times in this qualifying session. He's in an unliveried car for the purposes of this weekend. It's the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing entry, but it's a little bit stealth-like in its livery.
I think that the team are sat waiting for the marketing team to sign off to say yes, we'll use that livery for the season. So it's just the base cut, shall we say, for the car. But I actually like it. A nice sort of stealthy dark blue livery does look good with that matte finish to it as well, which is now seems to be the tradition for Red Bull liveries.
And Sebastian Job goes quickest then around the Silverstone National Circuit. The way that you're looking at that timing tower, anything in red for the background number is a pro, anything with a white is an and. So the other pros, Leo Garibaldi, Luke McEwen, and Pete Berryman, who was another winner at this equivalent event last year, he won the reverse grid race. He is there or thereabouts. And another driver that we need to be keeping an eye on, and he's just gone third fastest, second in pro, Matt Caruana, who represented the UK in the FIA Motorsport Games last year. That was in single-seaters, that was in Formula 4. This is all rather different, though.
But he's got experience in this car. He won the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge GB late last year in this car, so he's very familiar with the 911 Cup car, the Carrera Cup car, and certainly has some good pace in it. Oh, as a World Sim Racing car, I think that was Eric Grove losing control there, just out of shot. You see the smoke.
Yeah, that was down at Brooklands. He did that right in front of the virtual members of the BRDC in the clubhouse, but he's I think survived the experience and got away with it. So riding on board with Charles Rainford, BRDC member, in fact, he comes up towards the Exeter Woodcote corner, heading for the timing line, cuts the corner, gets right the other side of the curb, and he is third with Gareth Higgins now, having put himself to the very top, and that is a mighty effort, isn't it?
I think the times are just going to keep on falling because the fuel drops down. You'll see drivers have a hot lap and then back off, and then a hot lap and then back off. They're trying to get the best out of those tyres and not overheat them. So, yeah, you will see some quick times coming in later into the session.
Matt Caruana then goes down to Brooklands. Sebastian Job goes quickest now on a 54.539. Caruana, I think, has backed out of this. And you've got to time it right, haven't you? Because the checkered flag goes out the end of the time. I know that sounds obvious, but that's when qualifying finishes. Doesn't matter where you are around the lap, your qualifying finishes as soon as the clock hits 0. You don't finish that lap, you finish it on that second.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit different here in this series compared to in the full metal racing. Scott Merckx down into Cop's corner. You'll see him want to clip that inside curb, then run it all the way out over the exit curb of Cop's, over to the right-hand side then for Maggots, which is a really quick left, onto the brakes, try and get your braking straight, and done for Beckett's, which is a tricky corner to take you onto the Wellington Straight, up over a little rise as you go back onto the Grand Prix layout, down the Wellington Straight then into Brooklands, and it's tricky is this one because you start off braking straight but then you're turning into the corner while still braking. Very easy to lock a front wheel into Luffield, a long sweeping Luffield that most people you'll want to see V off the corner to get the power down at the corner through Woodcote absolutely flat out, and it's going to be just lap after lap quick racing here in this one. It's 25 minutes. We'll probably end up getting about 27-28 laps out of this race.
Yeah, it's going to be busy around the national circuit, that is for sure. Gareth Higgins, having lost his top time, still finds himself third. Now, Luke Pennington was another driver last year who was impressive, wasn't he? And he was, to use that dreadful phrase, there or thereabouts in terms of knocking on the door of the pros. However, that doesn't tell the whole story, because he was the dominant AM, 9 times a winner in the AM category, on his way to win the championship. Now he steps up to the pros. This is going to be really interesting to see what he can do. Last year, of course, by mixing it with the pros as an AM, that gave him plenty of kudos. But now he's a fully fledged pro. Results are going to speak for themselves.
And that's the tricky thing, isn't it? It's being able to step up a gear and being able to compete with those pros. You know, it is a different level that those pros work to, especially people like Job and McEwen. But I tell you what, Luke Pennington, he's involved with the Commander Esports team, is a race engineer for them. He's not officially a driver with them, but he's representing them here in this championship. But he knows how that operation works. He knows the level of preparation needed, and if he's applied that to this series, we could see him really challenging up there at Pro.
Absolutely right, because it's the same car, isn't it, that everyone has, whether you're in Pro or AM. The difference comes in your ability, your experience, nothing to do with the car. The best of the AMs is Christian Charuta, who I'll stick my neck out and say is the same Christian Charuta that used to race quite successfully in Caterhams about a decade or so ago. Not quite as long ago as that, but he's a quick driver. Crofton Woodhatch, we saw last year winning in the AM category on occasion. He moves up to Pro this year. So, out of all of that, Charles Rainford, only 10th. He needs to dig deep, doesn't he? Because at the moment, that's not where he needs to be. That's Christian Charuta, and he's heading for 2 points for pole in AM.
Yeah, and it'd be a good start for Charuta's championship. Now, of course, we're running out of time here. We're into those final times, so anybody finishing a lap, they won't be able to start another one now. So we're just going to be keeping an eye on who is going to be the last one across the line. But Job, I think, is pretty much set now for that pole position. Yeah,
he's only 600ths or 60 thousandths, if you prefer, because it sounds closer, away from William Chadwick. So there's not much to choose between them. But what we have seen Sebastian Job do is be able to turn it on instantly on cold tyres on the first lap, whether it's getting through traffic or building a gap from pole position. So the rest are going to have to work really hard. Flag out, qualifying done, and a Job well done. It's another pole position for him.
Not a bad job indeed.
Top work, Sebastian Job it is then, who is going to be the fastest. Just after a quick run through the grid. The reigning champion then is on pole from William Chadwick with him at the front of the grid. Third is the reigning AM champ, which is Luke Pennington, ahead of Luke McEwen. Gareth Higgins, 5th, and Pete Berryman in 6th. Gareth Higgins, I think, is probably one of the more impressive drivers out of that qualifying session, because he was there or thereabouts all the way through. Matt Caruana, 7th, ahead of David Williams. Good to have him back. Leo Gariboli, 9th, and the AM pole, Christian Charuta, is 10th. Then it's Crofton Woodhatch, and despite the spin that we thought we saw him have, Eric Grove comes next, ahead of one of the newcomers, Tom Stevens. And in the end, only 14th, Charles Rainford, ahead of Ada Walsingham, and then Daniel Cofield. Alex Davidson's a long way back, isn't he? One of the pros who's only 17th and 18th on the grid is Isaac Price, ahead of Jacob Tofts, another of our real-world drivers. Then it's Tim Darracott from Guy Edwards and Dylan Platt. Scott Mokes a long way back as well, 23rd, and Sam Fitzpatrick, 24th on the grid. 25th is where you will find another of the returning drivers, Jakob Urbanchik, and alongside him is Oliver Ettridge with Conan Wynn completing the grid. So 27 cars, 27 drivers, so another really quality entry, and there you can see the grid now getting ready to form. We are in for a very, very good race indeed. Not a set number of laps, is it? It's 25 minutes, so it's time rather than distance.
Yeah, absolutely. We should get around, like I said, about 28 laps out of this race. There's Pete Berryman then preparing. David Williams as well, another one of our experienced hands here, David. I don't think he'll enjoy me saying that, to be honest. Sam Fitzpatrick there as well. He'll be operating from the Apex Racing team as well. Isaac Price, always good to see him as a real stalwart of sim racing. But we're about to get ready, David.
It's always fascinating, I think, isn't it, to see the drivers in the rig, ready to go. But this is the trackside view. Sebastian Job on the outside where pole position is. The lights go out. We go racing to kick off the 2025 season for Porsche Carrera Cup GB Esports powered by Rama Racing Club. Great start by Job. He leads through Copse Corner.
Yeah, good start from Sebastian, then Will Chadwick slotting in behind him, and then Luke McEwen and Luke Pennington fighting it out there into Beckett's with Pete Berryman, Gareth Higgins and Matt Caruana all duking it out here as they go on to the Wellington Straight as well. 3 wide for 4th place. Might even go 4 wide here. Be careful, chaps, as you go into Brooklands.
Silverstone's a nice wide circuit, but even Silverstone has its width. So as they come up now towards Luffield for the first time, a lap round here absolutely flies by, doesn't it? Sebastian Job doing what we expected, turning it on from the green light. And he comes now up to Woodcote Corner then, over the timing line. Leader goes through, bit of dust being kicked up from Luffield in the background. So Sebastian Job leads Will Chadwick, Luke McEwen 3rd, Gareth Higgins 4th, Pete Berryman 5th, Matt Caruana in 6th place.
Yeah, Pennington got a bit bullied there on that first lap, and he's dropped down the order to 9th, so he will be looking to move forward. Leo Gariboli, early stages, yes, but he's in that crucial inversion point of 8th place. That's the place where those outside of the top 10 will be aiming to get to try and get that reverse grid pole position.
Yeah, that's one of the tweaks to the regulations for this year, that the top 8 are reversed rather than the top 6 as we used to have. Diving down towards Brooklands, you can see a tight line on the inside helped, certainly for that corner. Trouble is, you're then left high and dry on the outside for Luffield, which a long time ago was 2 corners with a short straight between. Now very much 1 long loop and 3 wide in the pack as others get a little bit hip and shouldered over the curb and towards the gravel there.
That was one of the World Sim Racing cars going into the gravel there, but they're able to keep it going. But still, the 2 wide. This is the joy of this national layout, is that you can actually go 2 wide lap on lap around here. It's a fantastic venue. There's only really 2 braking zones for you to be able to make a move.
Yeah, from the driver's point of view, is in old concertinas, they're going into Beckett's. They say, oh, it's not much of a challenge, it's only like a big triangle. But from a racing point of view, it is great because the road switches left to right, left to right, left to right, and it's wide, so you can slipstream, you can overtake, you can run side by side, and down towards Brooklands, key overtaking opportunity. This is Dylan Platt's view, and he's in danger of being overtaken rather than overtaking, because there, look, losing out through on the inside line. Traffic wiggles by, and that is, I think, Daniel Cofield making good progress. So Cofield back for another crack at the championship this season. That's the aerial view looking down onto a virtual Silverstone. Sebastian Job, in the meantime, is getting away a little bit now, isn't he? He's trying to build that gap over Chadwick in 2nd place.
I think Sebastian, he'll be wanting to either try and break away and control things at the front, or if he's not able to, just to look after his tyres, because yes, it's a 25-minute race, but you are putting a lot of load through these tyres around this track, so you want to look after them. And it's a quite incredibly warm track as well, 31 degrees Celsius, so they will start feeling the effects in the last 5-10 minutes of the race, depending on how hard they push.
The driver at the back is another of the newcomers, Conan Whean, so he is sort of learning fast. And in AM, Christian Scharuter is the class leader from Aidan Walsingham, and then 3rd Tom Stevens, new to the championship and going quite nicely. Now is Charles Rainford getting on. He is in 13th place, and another of the real worlders is Jacob Toffs, and Jacob's having a pretty horrible time as well. He's way back in 22nd.
Yeah, I think from the start there's just been a few getting a bit bullied around a bit and struggling to work their way through. And this is a problem, though. If you get behind 2 drivers who are duking it out, they're slowing you down. You want to get past them. If you feel that you've got that pace, you want to get past them as quickly as possible. But if they're busy fighting each other, you don't want to end up tripping over them either.
It's true enough. And Sebastian Job then, from Will Chadwick and Luke McEwen. That's the order. Sebastian Job remains very much the benchmark driver here, and Leo Gariboli in 8th place. He therefore puts himself, at the moment at least, on provisional pole position for race 2, and Luke Pennington is the man that's going to be, if you like, the first loser from that reverse grid, because he's 9th, and if you're 9th and back, well, you're going to start race 2 where you finish race 1. So Luke Pennington now has the pressure on, if you like, to get into that window for the reverse grid. He needs to gain a place off Gariboli if he can.
And don't forget 2 former AM champions as well in Pennington and Garibaldi. So they've both worked their way through this series and are now getting there in that top 10. But McEwen's looking left and right a bit, and Chadwick's feeling the need to go a little bit defensive into Brooklands. We remember last year that incredible first race that McEwen and Job had, where they were at each other loggerheads all the way through the race. Be interested to see if Luke is able to deal with Will here, because Will has progressed a lot in the last couple of years with his racing here in Porsches.
Trouble is, as long as he's defending from Luke McEwen, he's not going to stay with Sebastian Job, is he? Down through Copse Corner they go. You saw how both of them cut Woodcote there, coming out of the final corner, over the timing line onto the pit straight. Silverstone, sadly these days, by being a modern F1 circuit and having low curves for bikes as well, and lots of wide runoff for Formula 1 cars, means that it's one of those circuits more than others that really does struggle with track limit penalties and warnings, and it's going to be a case, no doubt, in the virtual world as much as a real world. So you're on board now with Luke McEwen. That's Chadwick ahead. They're, in fairness, doing a decent enough job, I would suggest, of staying with Sebastian Job for now. Sebastian has not checked out, has he?
Oh, that gap was always going to close there, Luke. It was a nice little look, and that was more to get a reaction out of Will more than actually making a move there. But yeah, you're absolutely right, David. They are losing touch a little bit with Sebastian. That gap has grown by a good 0.2 of a second since Luke has started putting the pressure on Will here. Will, though, I think he's got a bit more steel to him now, and he's more likely to get a little bit more elbows out. We saw that in the Porsche Esports Contender Series for the Super Cup last year, and we saw an absolute ding-dong battle with him at Spa last year, and he's shown now that he's got a bit of a hard edge to him.
So down they drop into Brooklands. You're looking at third place Luke McEwen there on the back of the all-red car of Will Chadwick, turning his way in turn now through Luffield. I just wonder, not only if they squabble like this, whether they're going to drop back from Job, and the answer to that seemingly is not by much, but whether they might be caught by Gareth Higgins in 4th place. He's the best of the rest. Still come back to my point of a lap ago, though. Job is not escaping up the road. He might be just pulling away ever so slightly, 0.453 of a second into Copse Corner, but you know, he's not disappeared. He's not been able to radically build that gap. Now, Job might say, doesn't matter, I've only got to win by 1,000th of a second, so as long as they're behind me, that's fine. But I am slightly surprised that that gap hasn't grown more, given the ferocity of the fight for second.
I think Sebastian's race management is one of his real key strengths in this series, and how he can be at the front on and you called it out, when he's able to just switch it on with cold tyres and to try and get that little bit of a gap at the front. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult this season. I just feel that the skill level has increased and people are bringing themselves towards Sebastian. I do feel that Sebastian is still currently one of the very best sim racers in the world right now, and he is one heck of a benchmark. But these drivers, Chadwick and McEwen, they are staying with him right now.
Oh, indeed. So Job, Chadwick, McEwen, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. 4th is Gareth Higgins. 5th, Pete Berryman, winner of the reverse grid race here last year. 6th is Matt Caruana, doing a nice job for his debut within this championship in the pro class. 7th is David Williams. 8th is Leo Garibaldi, and still the leading AM, 11th overall, is Christian Jaruta from Aidan Walsingham, 2nd, and Tom Stevens in 3rd. And they've got 3 drivers in the AM category, new to the championship, all going really nicely. On board now with David Williams. You can see him at work.
And David is another one of those where I'd use the word stalwart of sim racing. I don't know if that means that they're getting on a bit when you say that somebody's a stalwart of the series, but he is somebody who has been around for quite a while now in sim racing. He's one of the more experienced hands, and it's great to see him back this season, because previous seasons he's had such awful luck in this championship. But it's great to see him back there towards the front of the field and be challenging for a top 6 position. And if he stays where he is, he's on the front row for race 2, so it's not the end of the world.
That's true enough. I think in terms of stalwart, you're all right, because that suggests doing a good job. The one I'm always fearful of being described is veteran. Then you know you're on a slippery slope. So stalwart David Williams, I think he can accept that. Out of Brooklands he comes. Now the question remains, is he going to fight for a place, or are he now going to bank points and try and start on the front row for race 2? Head or heart?
And again, that's where that race management comes in, and it also goes with looking in your rearview mirror and seeing how close Leo Gariboli is. It might be worth taking the sensible pill and thinking, do you know what, I'm in a really good position right now, and even if Leo does make a move past me, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to be starting pole position then. The problem comes when your compatriot in the VRS Quander Esports paint in Luke Pennington, if he starts catching you up, then you've got to start worrying.
Battle is on here, is it not? David Williams then coming under attack. Leo Gariboli thinks about the inside line down towards Brooklands. He's got the pace, but there's no gap because David Williams already moves across, closes the door, locks the door, bolts the door. No way through there for Leo Gariboli.
Yeah, he's a wily character, is David. He knows how to work this. He's done Grand Prix World Championships in sim racing. He's done the Porsche Super Cup as well as this championship as well. He knows what he's doing, and certainly he'll be not fooled by any sort of half moves going on into Brooklands, because it is a genuine overtaking spot, but it's very tricky to get it absolutely right. And you were absolutely spot on, David. You can then get hung out to dry through Luffield if you're still side by side.
Beckett's that they just come out of is another possible overtaking place, and Pete Berryman knows all about this as well, and he's lining up for a move maybe down towards Brooklands. That's Gareth Higgins ahead of him as they break for the corner now. Dive into the left of Brooklands. If anything, I would offer you the fact that the three leaders have concertinaed again. Job, Chadwick, McEwen, absolutely as one. And so now Sebastian Job, okay, he might still be the race leader, but not by very much at all. They'll come up towards the line with just about a fifth of a second between the top two, with only 13 minutes on the clock now.
Is it a case of Luke Pennington stopped making a look at Will Chadwick and thought, actually, let's think bigger picture, get back with Sebastian, and then start fighting towards the end of the race? Because if you fight too hard, Sebastian can run away. So I don't know, is there a little bit of gamesmanship going on in game management, should I say, going on from Luke to maybe not start Will defending?
You might be right, but it's still impressive that they've been able to catch back up to Sebastian Job. They've all got the same equipment. And this is Sebastian Job we're talking about, reigning champion, dominant driver of last season. You don't normally catch back up to him, especially when he's in the lead. So it's interesting that they've been able to achieve that. We'll keep an eye over 12 more minutes of the race, as in the meantime, the AM leader, Christian Scheruter, comes up now from Luffield, heading towards the line. He's chasing after Charles Rainford, who of course was a very good historic racer before he came into modern Porsches. And this is Ada Walsingham's view. Now he wants to try to get past Grove, or Grove now gets past Scheruter. This means the AMs are not only nose to tail, almost side by side now for the class lead.
Oh, be careful! Don't end up quarter panelling each other there. Onto the brakes for Beckett. And, well, Walsingham in the perfect spot there down the inside. And that's the problem around here that Scheruter has found. If you end up on the wrong position, you can get freight trained.
And he's going to lose another place overall as well. Here comes Alex Davidson up the inside. So having praised Silverstone a few laps ago for the nature of the circuit, it's just gone against Christian Scheruter, because having been hung out to dry on the outside going up to Beckett's, not only has he lost his class lead, he's now also lost another place overall. So he might have the 2 points for pole in his class, but he is not necessarily heading for a class win. And that means that if Ada Walsingham can hang on to take the class victory in race one, going to make the AM Championship already very interesting indeed.
Certainly is. It's going to be a wide open championship. I feel it in my waters and my bones here. It's just one of those things that could well go to the final round. I hope it does, to be honest, because it'll give us and you guys at home a real thrill ride to the end of the season, much like the front of the field as well. That could be a real thrill ride through the season. But if Sebastian can do what he normally does, which is get a race one win and then just get himself a really good bank of points in race two. Now, last season and the season before that, that's what you would have said he would do. But of course, with it being a bigger grid inversion, it means that the hit of points, you need to move forward through the field in that second race a bit more.
So the race leader, Sebastian Job, continues to hold sway. 0.3 of a second now, the margin over Will Chadwick. All of these cars, the virtual version of the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup, 485 horsepower, 4-litre engines, Michelin tyres. The ultimate one-make championship is Porsche Carrera Cup racing, whether it's a national championship or the International Porsche Super Cup. And it has the honour also of being the ultimate esports one-make championship as well. Down towards Brooklands once more goes that leading freight train. Only 9.5 more minutes on the clock now, as Alex Davidson then gets on his toes and tries to dislodge Aidan Walsingham from 13th place. Aidan can sort of afford to let him go because it's not his battle, but if he does let him go, he'll then have his class rival right up behind him. So actually that cushion is quite a welcome one.
Yeah, you want to have that little bit of a 8-ball in between you and the other, just to try and act as that defensive vehicle. And Walsingham doing a sterling job. Alex Davidson is a quick driver. A lot of people don't realise how quick he is. It's that consistency that I think he needs to just get that final bit just out of him to be able to then be properly challenging in a championship like this. But Walsingham's doing a sterling job. But we saw with Zaruta, as soon as you end up on the wrong line around here and there's a queue of cars, you can be freight trained, and Walsingham's got to be careful with that as Davidson goes for the look.
Tries the outside line coming through Luffield. In the wet that would work because there's a bit more grip to be found there, but in the dry, no can do. Slots back in behind. Alex Davidson had a part season last year, and his best result was a second on the reverse grid race at Donington, but he didn't do the whole year. Looks to the inside of Cops, can't find a way through. Slots back in behind.
Oh, he's looking keen though, isn't he? He got that good run out of Luffield. That's what that wide line does give you, is means that you can get on that power a little bit earlier, sit the car down and get the launch out the corner to try and go for the move into Cops. Didn't quite work out that time, but now Walsingham will be just looking his mirrors left, right. Where is he? Where's he going? What's he going to do? And Eric Grove in front, the World Sim Racing teammate of Alex Davidson. The two of them. Oh, and again, Davidson looking for that inside, but he's not getting enough of an overlap. Now the cutback.
He's got the inside, he's got the shorter line, the quicker line, the tighter line. He should get the place as well. But with low, flat curves on the outside, Walsingham can keep his foot in. He does lose the place. See how much of the corner is cut on the inside at Woodcote. Now on the defensive once again. Walsingham on the inside. Christian Charuta up on the outside, but he runs out of road, and Isaac Price will go through. But that's pro on Am. Price, though, gains the place.
And Price will get 2 places here as well. Both Ams getting caught out defending from each other, and that just allows Price to say thank you very much, I'll get back with the rest of the pros. It's interesting to see how this race has developed. The Ams are just slowly dropping down. I think it's the natural order of those pros just having that bit of extra experience, knowing how to manage the race, working their way forward.
Whereas the lead gap outright has come down again. It was just under 0.2 of a second a moment ago. It's crept up ever so slightly, but Sebastian Job, there's a part of me that thinks he'll say to you in the interview afterwards, yeah, it was all under control, but I'm still slightly surprised that Will Chadwick and Luke McEwen, because they've been as one race long, have been able to stay so close. Gareth Higgins, in contrast, has dropped away 4th. He's got Pete Berryman 5th, right on his tail as the leaders again come out of Beckett. And Chadwick staring at the back of Sebastian Job's car, but he hasn't really been able to, as far as we've seen, be able to make a move. However close he's been, never has he had an opportunity.
Sebastian knows how to defend though as well, and he knows when to defend at the right time as well. People will fall into a bit of defending just fresh air and when nobody's making any threats to make a move and just slowing them down. Whereas Sebastian, he knows it's not really an option to make an overtake at this spot. I'll keep on my line. Okay, coming into Brooklands, I might need to just hold the middle of the track a little bit. Compromises me a little bit, but not too much going through Brooklands. So it's knowing how to defend as well.
5.5 minutes and counting. That's all we've got left. Although 5.5 minutes around the national circuit here is quite a few laps, isn't it? They're going to be able to squeeze at least 6 out of that, I would have thought. So Sebastian Job still does need to keep his wits about him. And now you can see Luke McEwen on his toes as well, thinking about making a move. against Will Chadwick once again, and he's right there coming down towards Brooklands. Now, is Luke McEwen thinking, okay, fine, you've had a go, Will, you've sat there race long, you failed to make a move against him, my turn. But in order to have a go at Job, he's got to get past Chadwick first of all. So here comes McEwen, 5 minutes to go. Is this the moment where he pulls the pin and tries to fight his way up into second place?
Yeah, Sebastian just got a little bit away that lap, and McEwen was just giving a little bit of Morse code to Will Chadwick through Luffield. So letting him know that he was there, I think, is the old phrase. And certainly McEwen will be wanting to make a move, but it's easier said than done. And you got to remember with this series, all the drivers, it's not just the same vehicle, it's the same setup as well. So they've all got exactly the same vehicles.
Now, McEwen was really good a lap ago on the brakes, and what's going on in AM? It is still Aidan Walsingham ahead of Christian Charuta, but not by very much at all. 3 for the lead in Pro, 2 for the lead nose to tail within AM. 4 minutes to go. Sebastian Job comes up towards the timing line once again. Adam Woodcote then heading up towards the completion of the lap, goes through. We'll put 24 of them in the book this time, and goes by down towards Copse Corner.
Tell you what, in AM, Scott Brooks and Tom Stevens aren't that far behind either, so it could be a 4-car battle for AM if the two leaders carry on fighting like they have done previously. So we could be in for a real close finish here in both Pro and AM.
Yeah, Christian Charuta, I reckon, he's sort of regrouping this. He's coming back at the class-leading Aidan Walsingham, so he's chipped away, he's got himself back onto the tail, and with 3 minutes and change on the clock, what pressure, if any, is he under? Tom Stevens is close, but not yet pitching for a way by, so Christian can, at least for a lap or two, concentrate on going after that purple car of Aidan Walsingham ahead.
Yeah, he certainly can. He's doing a good job of keeping the pressure on. Will Chadwick, do you know what? The body language, and I'm going to give it the commentator's curse here. The body language from Will Chadwick hasn't really been one of attacking, although that run through Copse was a really good run.
Indeed so. So Will Chadwick now, with 2 3/4 minutes on the clock, is certainly close enough to make a move if he can find a gap. Sebastian Job comes out of Beckett's then, back onto the loud pedal, speed building all the way down Wellington Straight, then down towards the left-hander of Brooklands, and on that lap, Luke McEwen, he's the one that's dropped away a little bit, and this time around, Chadwick fades to the inside. Job's already there in anticipation of that. McEwen catches back up again, and this is the frustration for Chadwick. Were he not to have to be defending as well, he might be able to spend a bit more time attacking Job, but he's mindful that even if he makes the tiniest error, McEwen is going to be up and past him.
You know there's going to be a race engineer in his ear just going, do remember the championship, though. It's a long season here, and second is a good ton of points here. Gives it the old sim racers lean as well. Will just can't stop himself from doing that. He's always done it every time we've seen him on screen. But he's keeping the pressure on, that is for sure.
I'm waiting for him to blink. That doesn't happen very often. Still nothing. Oh, one there. Okay. So he grabs a gear, comes out of Beckett's and down towards Brooklands once more. They are going to squeeze certainly 1, maybe even 2 more laps out of the time come the end of this lap through Brooklands. Will Chadwick then, currently P2, as you can see, second place. Turns through that right-hander now, going up through Luffield. But Sebastian Job was already, if you like, stopped the car on the apex. No way for Will Chadwick to get through there. Luke McEwen catching back up again in 3rd place. All of them shortening Woodcote. 2 laps to go.
Yeah, so there's running out of opportunities here now for Will. Yeah, you get a lot of laps in here around this track. The problem is those go flying by very quickly, and the opportunities get fewer and fewer. And Luke McEwen, is he looking a bit keen? He's certainly closing up to the back of Will here. Down the Wellington Straight they go, and still, I just don't see the move being made by Will Chadwick right now. He's just not that close enough. He needs to be within a 10th, really, onto the Wellington Straight to have any chance of making a move at Brooklands.
Provisionally, I would offer you Pete Berryman, fastest lap of the race as well, 54.715. Fractionally faster, we're talking hundredths, than those around him. So 1 more lap to run at the end of this. Job, Chadwick, McEwen. They all make woodcut shorter than God intended. It come over the line now, down towards Cop, checker flag at the end of this lap. But Sebastian Job looks as though he's going to start where he left off last year. He had, what, 6 race wins in the championship last season, and one of those 6 was the opening race of the year victory. And it looks like that's going to be mirrored here in 2025.
It certainly looks that way, and yeah, Will just doesn't look close enough there. If anything, he's looking in his mirrors at Luke McEwen rather than through the windscreen right now. Again, I don't think McEwen's close enough either to make a move, but what a drive at the front from Sebastian Job.
We said he was going to be the benchmark driver. He has not let us down, has he? So, esports champion and now Formula 1 driver comes out of Luffield up towards the timing line. And Sebastian Job is going to score honours in the first Porsche Carrera Cup GB Esports Championship powered by Rafa Racing Club round of 2025. Sebastian Job takes the race win. Second to Will Chadwick, and third goes the way of Luke McEwen. Pete Berryman gets 4th on the line ahead of Gareth Higgins with Matt Caruana in 6th, 7th to David Williams, 8th Leo Gariboli, 9th Luke Pennington, and 10th it's going to be Crofton Woodhatch. Now, as far as the AMs are concerned, it is Aidan Walsingham who takes the category win from Christian Charuta and Tom Stevens, and that's a really good start to the year. And I think, as I said during the race, the fact that you've got a different winner from a pole position scorer in AM suggests we're in for a really competitive season. But Sebastian Job has done it again. The fastest lap confirmed it was Pete Berryman's 54.715 that was enough. 28-lap race completed. Sebastian Job, the winner, from Will Chadwick second, Luke McEwen third, Pete Berryman fourth, then Gareth Higgins and Matt Caruana to round out the top 6. Those for the reverse grid completed by David Williams and then the new pole man, Leo Gariboli. Luke Pennington 9th, Crofton Woodhatch rounding out the top 10. 11th, it's where you find Charles Rainford ahead of Alex Davidson and Eric Grove. Isaac Price 14th ahead of Aidan Walsingham. He is your AM winner from Christian Charuta and Tom Stevens. Scott Mopes 4th in class. He was ahead of the pro Dylan Platt and another of the AMs, that being Daniel Cofield. After the top 20, Jacob Tofts was the final man home in pro ahead of Jakob Opancic, then Guy Edwards, Tim Darracott, Sam Fitzpatrick, Oliver Ettridge and Conan Wean. The one non-starter didn't get into the server, Kane Halliburton, before we even got to qualifying. So, well done, Sebastian Job. What an outstanding performance. He was never more than 3/10 up the road, it seemed, but always had it under control, Paul.
Yeah, and as I say, he doesn't defend fresh air. He knew where and when to defend from Will Chadwick, and Will, though, he kept him under pressure as well, because he was in that difficult spot, as you said through the commentary. He was looking to try and make the move on Sebastian, but also had Luke McEwen right behind, trying to see if there was any opportunities coming at all throughout that race. Really good, solid race from the front end. Pete Berryman able to just sneak that 4th place in the end. I think that'll be good for his morale going into the second race.
Yeah, because it's an equivalent race that he won last year, the reverse grid race here around the Silverstone National Circuit. A little bit tougher now with 8 being reversed, not the 6. Reflects, if you will, on that AM battle as well. Christian Charuta took pole and led, got roughed up a bit in the race in terms of being forced out wide, but that looks like it's going to be a really feisty season.
It certainly does look like it's going to be a really, really good close fought championship, is that. And those drivers are going to be starting where they finished as well, so they're going to be carrying on the fight from the start of this one as well. Charuta, he looked to have the overall out-and-out pace of the AMs, but that race pace and that race management of looking after your tyres, as you say, got a little bit roughed up. That just allowed the others to be able to catch up to him and to be able to make those moves.
Right, explain what happens next, because race 2 is not far away, is it?
No, absolutely not. So the top 8 finishers from this race, this first race of the season, will now be inverted. So the person who finished 8th, which was Leo Gariboli, he'll be starting on pole position here. Alongside him will be David Williams. So it gives those drivers an opportunity who are maybe quick enough to be in that top 10, gives them an opportunity to get themselves some extra points in the second race of the day.
And although this second race for the pros has a slightly reduced demarcation of points, so you get 10 for the win, not the 12. It's still a race that you've got to win. Let's have a look at that grid then. Leo Garibaldi is on pole position from David Williams on the front row. Matt Caruana has row 2 with Gareth Higgins. The third row, Pete Berryman and Luke McEwen. So there's your third place driver from race 1 to watch ahead of Will Chadwick and Sebastian Jobe. Next come Luke Pennington and Crofton Woodhatch, starting where they finished, effectively ahead of Charles Rainford and then Alex Davidson. 12th. 13th on the grid is Eric Grove, ahead of Isaac Price. Then it is Aidan Walsingham, that's your winning AM from race 1. His rival Christian Soruta next. Then it's Tom Stevens and Scott Mopes lining up after him. Dylan Platt will go from 19th, ahead of Daniel Cofield. Then you've got Jacob Toffs needing to improve in race 2. He's got the returning Jakub Babanchik alongside. They're ahead of Guy Edwards and Tim Darracott. The final 3 are going to be Sam Fitzpatrick, number 71, ahead of Oliver Ettridge, and Conan Whelan in number 13 will round out the grid. So that is how they are lining up, ready for 28 laps. Once more, it's going to be the target. Last couple of cars into position. One of the things we saw last year was that if Sebastian Jobe could get to the front early on, then yes, he'd definitely go for the race win. But if it was going to put him in jeopardy, that reverse grid, and fighting his way through could cost him points, he'd just bank whatever he could.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Again, it's that race management, but with it being a bigger grid inversion, he is used to this from the Super Cup, so he's used to that top 8 inversion, so he knows how to manage that situation. But you're still in and around that back end of the top 10 that were desperate to try and get into that top 8, who have got good pace. Watch out for them to be coming through.
Well, there is Sebastian Jobe's rather understated number 1 entry from the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing stable. 25 minutes once again then. Leo Garibaldi is on pole position. We're in business then. Race 2 is go, and a good start by Leo Garibaldi, who's yet to have a win in this championship, and he leads down towards Copse Corner then for the first time, with a good start being made also there by Matt Caruana. Caruana up to second from the second row, and he's all over the back look of the race leader. Side by side up to Maggots. But the inside line claimed by Garibaldi. Then Caruana tries to force open the door, coming out of Beckett's. Side by side they come off the corner, and Matt Caruana just gets himself in front. Good move.
What a launch from Matt Caruana at the start. They're banging door handles down the Wellington Straight here. Garibaldi late onto the brakes. Is he too late? Oh, David Williams now giving Caruana that squeeze back that he made the move on at Copse Corner. But what a ballsy move it was from Caruana. Oh, that's a bit naughty. A little bit of a squeeze off-road goes David Williams.
Yeah, he's not going to be impressed about that, is he? But he can hopefully regroup. He's not lost too many places. He's lost a couple, but the danger is he loses more down towards Copse Corner. He does lose more because now McEwen and Jobe have both gone past him as well.
And Chadwick as well down the inside, and there's Jobe. So Chadwick and Jobe working their way through. McEwen's there, but Williams, he'll not want to be losing out too many more places. But again, just goes to show if you get bullied here, you can get freight trained down the order. So Williams down to 8th place here, but Jobe, he's looking all business. He's looking like he wants to get past Will Chadwick here.
So down they come, nose to tail for this long line for the race lead. Leo Garibaldi is certainly under attack, isn't he? Matt Caruana saying, right, okay, I'm new to your championship, everybody, but I'm going to prove how good I am. You don't represent Motorsport UK at the FIA Motorsport Games for nothing. He got knocked out of the semi-finals of the F4 competition, but to get that far in a really high-quality entry was no mean feat. Leo Garibaldi, race leader then, by 0.3 of a second. That is all as they go on to lap number 3 now.
As we still look at Williams, he's under pressure from Crofton Woodhatch there. New to the World Sim Racing outfit is Crofton. And he's got his teammate of Alex Davidson right with him as well. We've got doors being banged, paint being swapped as well. You can just give the paint hex code if you want to see and sample that paint.
That was a brave effort by Jakub Babanchik. Through on the inside line there. Jakub goes by, so moves himself up to 5th in AM. And he's not the only one who's looking all committed to this either, is he? Because you can see there others trying to gain places, including Jacob Toffs as they come through. Jacob, who's been a real-world driver, not in 911s, but in the 718 Caymans. His father used to be a quick Formula Ford racer, turning their way through Cops Corner now, and onto the run-up towards Maggots, through which goes Charles Rainford, and he's busy as well, trying to attack, trying to defend.
Yeah.
And he gets well roughed up.
Yeah, that's on the replay there, last lap. Rainford getting turned. Chadwick and Job on our timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen have been switching places. So Job's been trying to work his way past Chadwick. And here comes McEwen on his teammate, Berryman. Is there any love lost between the two Apex Racing Team teammates?
Berryman's just got his nose in front coming off Luffield, hasn't he? McEwen then on the outside line. He's got the momentum, he's got the longer line all the way through Woodcote Corner down towards Cops. So Pete Berryman on the inside, Luke McEwen on the outside. He's going to have to slot back in behind him, I would have thought. No, he does not. He tries to be a real hero on the outside line. There he runs out of road, but again, maintains momentum. He's going to get through because Berryman is the one that goes backwards, and here comes Chadwick trying to buy into it as well.
It's an Apex Racing Team roadblock in front of Chadwick and Job here. Oh, Berryman, a little bit of a door bang and a hip check on his teammate there. So there's no team orders in the Apex Racing Team. And Will Chadwick sat there going, come on, guys, I want to get past you two. Oh, that's going to be brave if you make that move, Will.
And I think he has made it work, hasn't he? Because he's got the job done. Yes, all of the car this time is ahead. So it's taken him a lap and a bit. But Will Chadwick is up into fifth. And so, Luke McEwen is up into the fourth place, I should say. Will Chadwick then is the one doing the chasing now. Apologies. So Luke McEwen goes through, and he worked very hard for that. And having been released, let's see what he can do about third, Gareth Higgins, who was there or thereabouts, raced long in that leading gaggle in the opener. Leo Gariboli, in the meantime, is on to lap 6 out of a possible 28. And he's a tenth of a second up the road from Matt Caruana. He's not disappearing.
No, and it seems to be that here at Silverstone, if you can stay in that slipstream, if you're in second and third, you can stay with that race leader and go all race long here. Now, McEwen, can he drag his teammate along with him to keep ahead of Will Chadwick? Chadwick's having a look into Brooklands, and Job's just assessing the situation here. He's looking from behind and seeing, well, where's my opportunities coming? They're not really coming at the moment, so I'll just sit here for now.
So Gariboli through 0.2 of a second. It was 0.171. It is. Drivers improving lap times all the time. As the tyres get hotter, the fuel load comes down. Out of Cops Corner they go. We're on lap 7. And as I say, 28 is what we're now expecting as the distance. Pete Berryman, we were looking at a moment ago, in 5th place. But Luke McEwen is taking this freight train of cars with him. He's edging closer to Gareth Higgins. He's not storming up onto his tail, but he is edging a little bit closer. And last time, he was about 0.3 quicker. So the gap 3rd to 4th is coming down. But Higgins is not dropping off the back of Caruana here. So that means the leading line is going to get very, very long in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, Caruana, the Project 91 driver, putting the pressure on the Apex Racing Academy driver of Leo Gariboli in front. So Gariboli, again, as we mentioned in the first race, former AM champion in this series. He's found himself at the front here, but he is under some real intense pressure. He was, again, another one of those drivers, Gariboli, who had misfortune all last season. Just if you didn't have any bad luck, you'd have no luck at all, and that's really what happened there. But look at this now. McEwen is pretty much on the back of these three, so it's going to be a whole train for the lead.
He's almost there, isn't he? You're right about Gariboli. He had some good days and bad. His best day was a 5th last season. But he's desperate to go better than that, prove to people, as a former AM champion, that he is one of those drivers that it can be a race winner, should be considered as a race winner. And Matt Caruana, likewise, having won the sprint challenge, he wants to prove how good he is as well. So it's a fascinating situation we've got at the moment for honours within this second race of the championship season. Second race of the day at Silverstone, and the leaders go by. Now, that last lap by Luke McEwen as he went through was a 54.7. He is lapping quicker now than all 3 drivers ahead of him. Game on.
Oh, this is fantastic, and he'll be picking up a nice slipstream as well now down the Wellington Straight. So Gareth Higgins will be starting, looking in his mirrors and thinking, oh, I did not want to see you that close so soon in this race, because it's still, we've only had, 7 minutes of this race so far, so Gareth would have wanted to go a lot deeper into the race before seeing Luke McEwen right behind him, but there they are, all in one shot. This is first down to, I believe, 11th.
Not bad, is it? So the leaders come through, absolutely nose to tail. Leo Garibaldi, Matt Caruana. That time around, Leo was fractionally the fastest as he went down towards Cox. But Matt Caruana is staying right with him. Third is Gareth Higgins, and this is Gareth's view. Now, he's going to be very busy soon, both attacking and defending. You can see how busy he's become. He's knocked the wiper on by mistake. Up to Beckett's now.
I think, unlike in the real world, he's cleaning the windscreen. If you did that in the real world, you'd smear it with all sorts of detritus. So, thankfully in the sim, you don't get that smearing effect, or else you wouldn't be wanting to touch that windscreen wiper. But he wants to see the best visibility in front of him. They're all looking behind as well. And if you're Luke McEwen, little tap on Higgins there, you'll want to get past these sooner rather than later to give you the best opportunity to go for the lead.
Quick word about Charles Rainford. He's down in 24th place after that spin, trying to piece his race back together. We have lost, though, Jakub Urbanczyk, have we not? He is 5 laps adrift now, so he's had an issue somewhere, and Urbanczyk out of the race.
Yeah, unfortunately, and he's even left the server. So yeah, he's done for today. Not the best start for Jakob, as there is Will Chadwick making the move on Pete Berryman, and then banging door handles again. This is fantastic stuff between the two of them, and Sebastian will be thinking, just knock each other off and give me the 2 places.
Berryman is ahead, though, as they come into Brooklands. Chadwick on the outside, tries to get the inside. Joe went for the inside line as well. Now Chadwick's on the outside for Luffield, you see. So the line you have for one corner puts you on the wrong line for the next. And the outside at Luffield works badly because it's the outside also for Woodcote and for Koch. You've got right-handers in quick succession there. So Berryman stays ahead of Chadwick. Sebastian Jobe is still in 7th place. So he's not really making progress. The patience of Jobe, he's having to kick in here as he banks points.
McEwen's made it up to 3rd as well on that lap. He's made the move on Gareth Higgins, so he's moving forward in this race. Caruana's his next target, and Caruana's not been able to make a dent in Garibaldi, but if I'm looking behind, I'm thinking, right, I want to make a move on Leo now and try and make a breakaway before those guys come along.
Down they come into Brooklands once more. Caruana, you're right, will be noticing what's going on behind him and thinking, OK, right, we're almost at the halfway point and there's a whole freight train of quick people behind. Need to get on with this. That's not to suggest he's not been trying thus far, is it, though?
No, not at all. He will be trying. It's not like he's out here for a Sunday afternoon drive. I mean, I'm the one wearing the flat cap here, not these drivers. So, yeah, they are pushing, and they are pushing hard. I mean, last lap, Garibaldi, a 55 dead, a 54.9 for Caruana. Luke McEwen behind them, a 54.8. So McEwen is gaining, and he's right there now.
That's absolutely right, he is. So comes out of Beckett's. Beckett's hairpin brings you onto Wellington Straight for the national circuit, and down on the inside line into Brooklands looks Matt Caruana closing right over Mr. McEwen. All of a sudden it's 3 for the race lead. McEwen to the inside of Luffield. That is exactly the line he needed. And Caruana, so busy was he attacking, has now opened the door and he's about to lose 2nd place. Luke McEwen to the inside line. He won't get it done at Woodcote, but he might get the job done down towards Cox. Side by side they run over the timing line, down towards the first corner of this next lap, which is going to be lap number 14. He's done the job, he's gone through. Luke McEwen is 2nd, but look how Leo Garibaldi has pulled away by about 3 lengths.
Yeah, he has made that little bit of a gap there at the front, and don't forget Garibaldi, Apex Racing Academy driver. He is under that same banner as Luke McEwen is for the Apex Racing team. So, you know, Academy driver versus the main team. Is there going to be orders there going on, or is Leo saying, sorry, I want to make a name for myself and I want to get myself a place? Pete Berryman's dropping down the order on our timing tower.
Yes, he is. He's had a drama somewhere. Slow coming out of Brooklyn, so Pete Berryman's season starts in contrast from how it was last year with a win at Silverstone. He's still circulating, but that car either has had a spin and it's trying to get back up to pace or has lost pace per se. Lead gap as they go through 0.4 of a second. 12 minutes to go. The way that Luke McEwen has raced here, bearing in mind he started 6th and he's up to 2nd, you'd kind of put your money on him being the race winner, wouldn't you? Because he's certainly proved he's no pushover.
Oh, absolutely not. And the thing is, this is where he can get the big points. And it was contact the car in front. It unsettled the car. Those cars through Brooklands, they're really loaded up on that front right corner, which means that the back left is really loose. And if you upset that balance there, around you go. And it was just the smallest of touches there with Higgins.
So that threw Berryman down to 11th place. We haven't really had time to touch on Am. We better had to. Christian Charuta is the leader this time. Again, there behind him is the race 1 winner, Aidan Walsinger. But it was around this part of the race last time that it started to change. So we're not done yet. But it could be 1-1 by the end of the day rather than 2-0 for Walsinger. But look, about 2 lengths, if that, between the 2 leading cars in Am. Meanwhile, in Pro, the list of cars in that leading line is pretty much the top, 6, 7 now?
Yeah, there has been 1 or 2 sort of dropping off of the back of that queue in the overall league. But yeah, it's certainly still pretty close in that leading battle. Zaruta though, doing a good job to be ahead of Walsingham this time. I think he'll be hoping to try and look after his tyres maybe a little bit better and not get hung out to dry in places to try and get it 1-1 between the 2 of them.
So this is Aidan Walsingham, and now ahead of him he will see Christian Charuta getting a bit stuck in the Pro traffic. Meanwhile, Luke McEwen in 2nd place outright goes through Cops Corner. Still sitting on the back of Leo Gariboli, and that gap is 0.228 of a second, so it's halved over the space of a lap. And McEwen then with a tighter line going up towards Maggots, that car looking a bit more planted. Gariboli's car moving around a little bit more, just suggesting he's spending a split second more looking in the mirror, and that's slightly unsettling.
Yeah, he does seem to be looking in his mirrors there, going into Maggots and Beckett's, and it did show they were both the leaders, both the front 2, were a bit liberal with track limits at Cops as well then on that lap, so they've got to be careful with that. If anybody is new to iRacing, by the way, these drivers, they do accumulate incident points. There is no limit in this race, but the series stewards will look at you if you are being, how shall we say, a bit taking the mickey with the track limits. That's one way to put it.
That's a fine Leipzig phrase, that. You obviously learned that at your visit to Porsche. Up towards Beckett's comes Luke McEwen then. No real opportunity to challenge there. A little bit wider goes Gariboli as he puts on the power, but only fractionally. Now, all of a sudden, we've got less than 9 minutes to go. Time has marched on. So McEwen, if he was thinking, yeah, I've got time on my side, he needs to think again. And also, look, he's got to defend now from Matt Caruana, who's back at the races.
Yeah, I think Caruana, I think he did what a couple others did in the first race, just backed off just that little bit, maybe composed himself, and has now got himself right back onto the tail here, and they have got a little bit of a break between them and Gareth Higgins, so the 3 of them at the front, a little bit of a gap, a little bit of a breakaway at the front, to use a bit of cycling parlance, but yeah, certainly Caruana, he's not giving this one up without a fight.
So 8 minutes to go. We are on now lap number 19 out of an expected 28, and it's game on for the race leader. Up the curve on the inside line, there goes Chadwick. He's gone 4th, not for long. Gareth Higgins fights back, but that was a big bite of curve Will Chadwick took. There's Higgins to the left and just going back ahead. What about the 3 leaders as they drop down towards Brooklands to the outside line? Goes McEwen. This for the race lead. They're absolutely side by side on the inside line. Gariboli, he will hang on in there. But look now, McEwen stands his ground. Inside line for Luffield. Gets his nose alongside, gets his nose in front. New race leader. Luke McEwen has done it, coming out of Luffield. And that, at the end of lap number 19, puts him into the lead of the race as Caruana attacks Gariboli for 2nd place.
The problem is that for Gariboli is that Luke McEwen was right in front of him, so he couldn't progress forward there. As Caruana on the inside at Cops can't get the move done, but what a ballsy move there from McEwen to make that one stick around the outside of Brooklands. Absolutely sensational as Chadwick finally moves ahead of Higgins as well, and Job follows him through.
Does indeed. So when the opportunity is there in a reverse grid race, Sebastian will take it, but he doesn't force the issue. And that was what we saw last year. You know, Sebastian's results were never overly stellar in the reverse grid races, other than Upton Park where he had a win after a bad qualifying. Side by side for second. Gariboli on the inside. On the outside line is Matt Caruana. But all of a sudden, Will Chadwick looks like a second place might be on the cards because he's right there with them. Then it's Job, then it's Higgins, then it's Williams, then it's Croft and Woodhatch going nicely. So you've got the race leader, Luke McEwen, on his own, and then second down to, what, 11th, 12th, pretty much all in a line.
Yeah, and I think that Luke McEwen will be thanking Leo Gariboli for fighting so hard with Caruana, because it's just holding everybody else up here. Gariboli doing a good job to get back into that second place, though, as well, staying ahead of Caruana. But all of a sudden, Will Chadwick rocks up on the scene, and you know that things are about to pick up here with 6 minutes to go.
Chadwick to the inside line, absolute mega full send on the inside there, came out of nowhere, and he goes through, and he's got the job done, but there's contact. Caruana gets into the side of him. Will Chadwick hip and shouldered off the racetrack, through the gravel, back onto the tarmac. He will drop places. Could have been a whole lot worse. In fairness, he's not lost out too badly, but 10th, I think, is where he's going to recover. And Will Chadwick had got the job done there, and I'm afraid to say that Matt Caruana has a bit of a case to answer there.
We've seen that in the past here at Silverstone on the exit of Brooklands, hasn't we? It'd be interesting to see if Caruana was fully off the track there on the outside. You can't really see off that one. Yeah, I think he was just fully off the track. It's up to him to rejoin the track safely, to be able to hold on to that inside line. Yes, there's a little bit of a contact there, but he's got to rejoin safely, and I'm afraid that isn't.
And equally, Chadwick was just about the whole car length ahead. He had got pretty much the whole car ahead, so he was the man in that place. So that may well get looked at. As Caruana, in the meantime, delayed himself a little bit. So now Luke McEwen is the leader from Leo Gariboli. And look who's up to third place, banking points. Sebastian Job has just walked into that as others have tripped over themselves. Ka-ching. He's done it again.
It's what he does. He'll just be saying, if we speak to him afterwards, he'll just say, yep, that's what I do. Just pick up the points, pick up the pieces of other people's issues. Thank you very much. I'll back those points to the championship. And because of that race win in race one and the pole position being worth those extra 4 points compared to this, he will, or should, at least take the lead in Pro into the championship, into the next one.
Indeed so. With the next stop for the championship being Snetterton in a couple of weeks' time. That's where we will head to next for sunny Silverstone. Right, leaders come up towards Woodcote. Clock ticks on down. They have just completed lap 23. So they start 24 of the 28, just under 4 minutes to go. So Luke McEwen, it is the race leader. Are we on target to see Luke take a win? He had 2 wins last year. Indeed, he won the last round of the championship. So the momentum being carried on well into this season.
It certainly is, and he is somebody who can compete. I think we just saw that last season he wasn't able to get that final move done on Sebastian in some of those earlier rounds, and I think that's where, when you got into those later races, it started to bite back in his championship charge. But certainly Luke looking strong here, and once again, Apex Racing Team versus the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing outfit. It's going to be one of those seasons again, David.
Absolutely right. It's going to be a good season in AM as well, because Christian Saruta is still only just ahead of Ada Walsingham. The margin between them when they came over the line was about 0.3 of a second, and that was it. Third is Tom Stevens. So from Tom's point of view as well, even if it's not a win or a second, 2 podiums, debut in the championship, he ought to be pretty content with that as well.
Yeah, that's a really good solid start to a season for a championship, and especially one this competitive as well. He'll be delighted to get 2 podiums there, and these two at the front, Tsuruta and Walsingham, they seem to have that little bit of edge in terms of out-and-out pace over Stevens, but again, coming to that race pace, Stevens looks to be on with them.
Crofton Woodhatch, you saw there, number 22. He was a race winner last year in Am and steps up to pro this year. He's on the attack against David Williams, who regrouped after being hip and shouldered gravel woods very early on in the race. Crofton's father, Grantley Woodhatch, used to be a very quick real-world Volkswagen racer in the late 90s, early noughties in the Volkswagen Racing Cup. And Crofton Woodhatch turns his way now out of Copse, goes up towards Maggots and Beckett's once more. For the leaders, we are looking at 2 more laps after this.
Yeah, it should be 2 more laps then, yes, after this one. And Garibaldi, he's actually caught a little bit of time back to McEwen in this lead. Don't write him off yet, but I think it's just that little bit too far for him to catch up with what time is remaining in this race. But Job, I think he'll be happy to pick up that 3rd place, but still Woodhatch just can't get past Williams, and he's got his teammate Davidson holding off Luke Pennington.
So the leaders go by. We have a minute on the clock. We are on to lap 27 as Oliver Ettridge is in a big battle. He's number 57. And Oliver Ettridge sitting himself on the tail of the traffic as he comes over the timing line now. Looks to try to make a move. Going down towards Copse Corner. Challenges on the inside line there. And Conor Wynne able to fend him off, but only just. And these two having a good battle. It might be a bit further back in the pack, but it's a good fight nonetheless. And another one who's busy battling is Charles Rainford. He's put himself now onto the tail of Jacob Tofts.
Yeah, I want to touch on just quickly on Conan Wynne, because he has moved forward 5 places in this race. So he's been moving forward after having a difficult first race, moving forward in the second race. I think that's a good start to your debut, as down the inside there goes Rainford. So that's a move between Rainford and Tofts. That'll be discussed in the paddock, I'm sure, this year.
Will indeed, and I think Charles will be a bit miffed about being turned around early on in the race. But Luke McEwen then, winner at Brands Hatch in the final race of last year's championship. That was a reverse grid race, of course. He's going to carry on by winning the first reverse grid race of 25, and he comes out of Beckett's. A really impressive job, because don't forget, he's had to fight his way through from 6th on the grid, and having hit the front, he's also built a very tiny cushion over Leo Garibaldi, who is on target in turn for his best ever finish in Carrera Cup GB Esports. Sebastian Job will win race 1. He will get another podium in race 2, and it looks as though Christian Charuta is going to square the score with Aidan Walsingham by being an AM winner. Checkered flag is at the ready, and up towards Woodcote Corner, Luke McEwen is going to be a Silverstone winner. He takes honours here in race 2 of Carrera Cup GB Esports, powered by Rafa Racing Club. Luke McEwen the winner, Leo Garibaldi 2nd, and Sebastian Job in 3rd. And Christian Charuta will indeed take AM honours. And that is a well-deserved drive after his disappointments in the first race, but he managed to keep his head that time around and made sure that Aidan Walsingham did not find a way past him. But Luke McEwen from 6th on the grid, race winner. Fastest lap was by Sebastian Job, a 54.733 on the last lap of the race, would you believe? Luke McEwen, though, is the race leader from Leo Garibaldi. That's the top 2 in the result. Sebastian Job 3rd. Matt Caruana drops off the podium, but he's ahead of Gareth Higgins and David Williams. Crofton Woodhatch 7th from Alex Davidson. Luke Pennington and Will Chadwick, in the end, only 10th after being nerfed at Luffield. Another one that got a nerfing, Pete Berryman. He was 11th ahead of Eric Grove. Then the top 4 in AM, Christian Charuta from Aidan Walsingham, Tom Stevens and Scott Mokes. The recovering Charles Rainford was ahead of Jacob Tofts, and then it was Guy Edwards 19th and Daniel Cofield in 20th spot. Isaac Price was next ahead of Conan Wynne, and as Paul was saying, he made good progress forward. Then it was Oliver Ettridge, Tim Darracott. He was ahead in turn of Dan Fitzpatrick with Dylan Platt at the back. Early on, we lost Jakub Urbanczyk. So, 2 very good races. I think we always anticipated that the reverse grid race was going to have plenty of drama. Paul, didn't disappoint, did it?
Oh no, it was a thrill ride. Absolutely fantastic stuff, and generally speaking, some really good racing out there. One or two that I think the stewards might want to be having a look at afterwards, and I'm sure the drivers do get the opportunity to put in their feelings in a protest. So yeah, the stewards, they'll look at this post-event, and we'll know about any decisions in the next week or so. But hopefully we do get to speak to some of our drivers as well from that race. And in fact, hopefully, speaking to us now is going to be race winner from that race here. Second race winner. First race, third place, Luke McEwen. I mean, how was that for the start of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting it at all. Like, I was really ill earlier in the week, pretty much the whole week. So I haven't been able to do much practice, and I was just here to kind of collect some points. They've done a bit better than that. So yeah, it's pretty good.
We saw in race one that you were in that third place. You just couldn't quite get the move done on Will Chadwick. Just the level of competition this season just seems to have stepped up again compared to last season.
Yeah, definitely. Like, Will's come on a long way, as you can see with how he was today. So I think it's going to be definitely a three-way fight, at least for the championship this year. If not more, obviously, because with these reverse grids, you're seeing a lot more people fight for wins, especially in the second race. So yeah, it's going to be very open, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And Snetterton next time, hopefully you'll be fully recovered for that. How do you feel about Snetterton?
Yeah, I generally really like it. I've only ever really driven it in the F4 car, but I've gone well there. Last season was pretty good. Obviously only the 200 layout, but yeah, I'm looking forward to a more like authentic track, I guess, compared to this.
Well, Luke McEwen from the Apex Racing team, congratulations, podium in race 1, race winner in race 2 here today. So that is Luke for us here. And next, speaking to is going to be our second place driver from that main race is Leo Gariboli. Leo, I mean, let's just talk about this. First race, you finish in 8th place, get yourself that pole position for the inversion. I mean, you must be happy with how today has gone compared to how unlucky you've been in previous seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's finally time I do something. It's quite nice, really. Last PEC season, I didn't really get much, or at least not as much as I was hoping. And then when I started doing contenders, that was even worse. That was quite embarrassing. So to go straight into this round 1 and get something from that is definitely a confidence boost. It's just that I can do it. So hoping for more results like that, really.
Absolutely. I mean, a podium in the second race and matching pace with Luke McEwen as well. I mean, that must be really good for you as well to take going forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. I think my pace is definitely a lot better than where it would have been last year. Definitely in that second race, my tyres were gone. So I don't know if it was just everyone was so racy that we just killed our tyres and that's what kind of equalised us. But yeah, I definitely have noticed that I've got more pace, hopefully. Like with the same thing, hopefully I get more things this year.
And hoping to keep that positivity going for the rest of the season now. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, with contenders, that was just genuinely embarrassing. Especially when immediately afterwards I'd go do races with the same people and not be that far off, if that far off at all. So to, like I said, get back straight into this round 1 and get something out of it, it's a definitely good feeling.
Well, Leo Gariboli from the Apex Racing Academy. But a second place here in the second race. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And from one podium sitter to a pole position sitter for the first race, a race winner in the first race, and a third place in that third race. Sebastian Job, former champion, well, multiple champion, should we say. How do you assess that first opening week?
Yeah, hi. It was reasonably good. I was getting a little bit frustrated in race 2. Just couldn't quite make up the places, and I could see Luke pulling away, and I knew he was one of the main challengers, and I could see him making his way through. So yeah, I was getting a little bit frustrated, but I struck a bit of luck with Caruana's interesting move, and luckily ended up third. But it was good. I was happy to get pole. The quali lap was really good. It was a PB, and then race 1. You know, as long as you don't make a mistake, you're not getting overtaken really. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Maybe the pace could have been a tiny bit better. And then race 2, yeah, once I got past at the end, I'm not sure how much damage I had. It looks pretty bad, but I don't know how much performance was actually lost. So I can't really see what the pace was like, because as much as this is the first round of the championship, it's also a chance for me to like understand how my pace is. And I didn't really get many chances because of being out in front. Everyone has my slipstream, and then in the race 2, all the traffic. So I think it was a pretty decent round, and I think I'll be leading the points, so I can't ask for much more really, especially with the additional reverse spots we have now.
And just very briefly, me and David were saying that it appears that the level of competition has just taken a little step up again this year. Would you agree with that assessment?
I think if you look at the times throughout the field, it's closer. However, at the front, I think it stayed pretty much the same in terms of who will be competing for the Pro Championship. But I think you look at the gaps in quali through the whole field, and it's definitely stepped up a level.
Well, congratulations. Pole position,
Thank
race
you.
1 winner and podium finisher here, Sebastian Job from the Oracle Red Bull Sim Racing team. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
And from Sebastian, we'll speak to some AM drivers now as well. First of all, Christian Zaruta, who joins us, race winner in AM in the second race, second place in AM, and pole position in race 1. How was that for yourself in this opening round of the season? Oh, as we hopefully can hear from Christian. This is hopefully we can hear from him. If not, we will move on. Fortunately, can't hear from Christian, so we'll hear from his main protagonist then, of Aidan Walsingham. Aidan, a race win in race 1, P2 in race 2 in AM. How was that for you?
It's a lot of fun. It's some good racing, a little bit of elbows out at points, but no, it's a lot of fun. Pretty challenging. Pace is really tight between everyone, so saw in the second race, make a couple of tiny mistakes and someone's coming straight past you immediately, and there's no getting out of it. So yeah, but I've had a lot of fun.
And with this being your first time in this particular championship, how would you assess how it was out there for you? Was it what you expected, or was it a bit more difficult than you expected coming in?
It's what I expected, to be honest. I didn't think I was going to be anywhere close to the pros on pace, but I thought maybe I'll be all right with the AMs. The driving on track, exactly as I anticipated. And yeah, just the challenges of the car. Driving without ABS, this is quite a new thing to me, so having a lot of fun.
And then looking forward to the rest of the season now. Are you just going to take this race by race, or are you feeling good to get this one done and dusted, taking forward to the rest of the season?
Yeah, looking forward to the rest of it, of course. How strong I'll be all season, we'll soon see. It's not the sim that I'm particularly used to, and especially not the car. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, congratulations. A podium and a race win here in AM. Aidan, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you. Cheers.
And then we are very briefly going to be joined by Will Chadwick, who, of course, finished on the podium in race number 1 of the afternoon. Well, let's talk about that to start with, Will, because you were up there at the front in qualifying. You were able to stick with Sebastian. Was it just a case of just not being able to quite get that move done on Sebastian in race 1?
No, I think I was just playing the smart game for the season. It's a long season. You can see what can happen if you go for moves that aren't really on, and it's really, really hard to pass around there because one corner leads into another that's going the other way. So it wasn't worth making a risky move, so I just kept my position, and that was that for race 1.
And then, of course, we'll talk about race 2. You were working your way through. You were dragging Sebastian along with you. And then you made a move at Brooklands. Matt Caruana runs out wide, comes back on, makes contact. From your point of view, how did you see that going?
Yeah, I mean, the race went okay up until that point. I had a few miss shifts on lap 1 and 3 out of the second corner, which really cost me, and why I ended up dropping behind Sebastian and then re-overtaking him when we had the moves into turn 1. And yeah, it's just a case of making robust moves around here to get the position, as I say, because one corner leads into the next. So trying to pick my way through, minimize points lost to the likes of McEwen, and yeah, Carroll made an interesting decision.
But looking forward, let's look at the positives. Rest of the season, you've shown that you've got the pace there to be able to compete. Are you going to be able to now just continue this through, or is it a race-by-race thing for you?
Yeah, the pace is always going to be there. I'm sure of that. I think it'll tend to see if the season can go my way a little bit. I'll need a little bit of luck here and there. I mean, we've not had the best of luck here at round 1, but you know, it comes for you and it comes against you at times. So I guess we'll just see how the rest of the season goes. And yeah, I'm happy with my performance in qualifying, especially after having to reset the car. I've had a blocking incident.
Well, commiserations for race number 2, but well done on the podium in race 1.
Thank you.
There we go, David. Always good to hear from some of our protagonists from today, and some happy, some not so.
Yeah, it's kind of inevitable, I suppose, isn't it? Especially when you've come into this with high hopes. But they don't have long to dwell on any disappointment, because it's 2 weeks before we go racing again. The Snetterton 300 layout is going to be next. And we've just seen a great start to the championship season with 2 different winners in Pro, 2 different winners in AM. The scene is set for a really competitive 2025. 26th of January, 2 o'clock, we will have qualifying, followed by the 2 25-minute races from the Snetterton 300. And we look forward to your company for the next chapter of this 2025 Porsche Esports Carrera Cup GB powered by Rafa Racing Club season. Thanks for your company today. From Paul Smith and David Addison, it's goodbye from Silverstone.